Let's see. Oh, Zidondani. Didn't see you there. I'm Dr. Fanu. Lead professor, lead scientist, lead pretty much everything here at Electri Ninjas Labs. Today, I have been tasked by Electri to tell you a little bit about the science of many creatures across the cosmos. Specifically today, we will be entering into the world of Miraculous to discuss the creation and what exactly are the Kwamis, as well as other abstract creatures within the universe. Now, as we all know, there are many unique powers that all of the Kwamis as well as other creatures seem to possess. And it's rather interesting what exactly they've done with each of these different creatures. Kwami's primary power is a unique power to themselves that allows them to do certain things, such as Plag's destructive abilities, Trix's, well, illusions, and Tiki's creation. There are many other abstract creatures besides Kwamis, such as, well, the Renlings and Muses and Ghosts. But what exactly are they? Well, I think that the answer lies with us, actually. Electri and myself are, as well as Imbrera and all of the rest of our major family, are what is known as Kodakians in our universe. And Kodakians are a rare species that are, instead of being carbon-based life forms or other matter-based life forms, we are energy-based life forms. So, in a degree, we have more aspects that are connected to energy rather than particles. And that is the important piece to look here. When the Kwamis interact with Miraculouses, they always distribute their power, increasing the strength of their user. Renlings changing their user into different creatures, ghosts and muses again interacting to increase the powers of their specific users. Which is rather interesting to say the least, that all of these creatures interact with humans to give them unique powers that are rather different from anything else, usually connected to their own powers. It's rather interesting to say the least. So the question then is, how exactly does it work? Well, the first thing to understand is that the Miraculouses function kind of like a capacitor, basically storing up a certain amount of the power of the Kwamis, but also redistributing that power. Obviously, that's not the capacitor part, but if you really think about it, Kwamis have used their powers before humans were involved, before the Miraculouses existed. And they caused mayhem. True mayhem. Plague is one of the biggest examples of this, causing multiple catastrophic events, including that of the dinosaurs and, like I said, many, many others. And Tiki created an entire universe, basically. All of these aspects are rather interesting, to say the least, that these Kwamis have traveled across the cosmos, causing what appears to be mayhem. But as soon as the Miraculouses came into existence, it almost completely slowed down. No longer were there catastrophic events. Instead, there were just warriors, heroes of the people who would take these Kwamis and use them for the greater good, and sometimes for evil. But the point is that they use them in a different way than ever thought before. So the fact is that more than likely a lot of their power is actually stored within that of the Miraculouses, meaning that they are never at their full power, because otherwise they could constantly be doing and unleashing all of these catastrophic events almost overnight. It's not an easy thing to deal with, and it's one of the reasons why they are considered too powerful without a user for many of them. Like I said, it's odd. But a lot of the other powers actually make a lot of sense, including this one. If kwamis are energy-based life forms, going through a wall, for example, energy flows relatively easily. Their exact energy is a bit challenging, but for example, sound. Sound is relatively an energy, and sound permeates through walls and other objects rather easily. Wind, again, a bit of an energy, flows through certain objects. Not all, but definitely some. Light comes through certain objects. Again, all of these different energies flow through objects as well as the air around them. Electricity, again, through certain objects. The exact energy is hard to pinpoint. For example, us Kodakians, which are electric-based, energy-based life forms, are only able to pass through metal for the most part. We are able to pass through certain things, but for the most part we can only pass through air and metal. There are a few exceptions, to say the least, but like I said, for the most part it's hard for us to go through much else. Water obviously makes sense, but that is an interesting factor. This energy is able to pass through much more, but it also has a similar aspect to light. Again, an important thing to think about is how light acts when going through a camera lens. We can see something that is creating light through our eyes for the most part. We're able to see it, and it's relatively clear to us. But if you were to aim a camera lens at a specific light, especially if it happens to have a very strong light, such as the lights that we have here in the studio, then that light would be so great that the camera would not be able to stand it. To a certain degree, we do have that same measure with the sun. Now, obviously, it basically just becomes a white splotch, or if it's a very strong color, then it will become that splotch on the screen for a lot of lights. And that is the important factor to realize here. These energy-based life forms, the kwamis, have a similar aspect. Electricity and other technological devices are not able to perceive it. Probably because they do not have perfect lenses like eyes. A good example of this is that Kodakians actually have slightly better eyes than that of regular humans. We're actually able to stare at most suns without any negative ramifications. The only real exceptions are extremely bright suns, which are brighter than even yours. And keep in mind, these are rare. These are extremely rare to the ones that we are specifically mentioning here. So bright that they've lit up entire universes, practically. It's really complicated, and we don't want to get into that right now. But that is a rather interesting factor, that humans are able to see it. Rather interesting. It's also important to note that it may be a bit more complicated than that. For example, a camera of more recent design, specifically one from another world perhaps, one that is far more technologically advanced, may be able to understand it, especially if they accommodate for that energy. For example, certain cameras are actually able to look at certain lights without having as big of a problem. It's just interesting, to say the least, and something to work around when it comes to what exactly is going on with the Kwamis. Rather interesting, if I do say so myself. So, in conclusion, what are Kwamis? Energy-based life forms, much like Kodakians and much like many creatures across the cosmos. Here's an interesting factor. We think here on Earth that there aren't energy-based life forms because of the fact that we've only seen carbon-based life forms. So, is it impossible to imagine them? No. But the problem is that humans have a much less interaction with the cosmos around them, only seeing a minute amount of it. And the idea that there could be energy-based life forms is a rather interesting factor, and you should start looking into it if you actually want to know more. I'll be talking more about energy-based life forms in the future, specifically talking about our race, the Kodakians, in multiple videos coming up in the future. But anyways, hopefully you've enjoyed the first video of the science here on Electro Ninja's Lab. I have been Dr. Fanu. Hopefully you have enjoyed this video. If you have, please make sure to leave a like, subscribe if you're new, and ring that notification bell. Of course, make sure to leave your thoughts and theories so that Electro Ninja can talk about them in a future video. And of course, if you do want to support the channel even more, then definitely head down to the description and check out all of our links down there, including our social medias, our other channels, and ways that can support us financially, including our merch store, the book, and of course our Patreon, which a big thank you to our current patron, Sheeny. But anyways, I have been Dr. Fanu, and hopefully you have enjoyed this video. Badon.